Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast Retro Life for You. My name is Chris Adams, host of the podcast, and with me today is Mr. Tim. Tim, how's your new year going, man?
It's going pretty good so far. Life is life and things are happening and just trying to keep up.
Life, I've heard, is like a box of chocolates.
That's what Forrest Gump told us.
That's
And he was right. You never know what you're going to get.
that's right, and I don't know whether I like him for that or not. Uh, like you said, life is real. Life is going, and it's happening as we speak.
Right.
But to make up for that, though, we did pick a good movie to talk about this time.
Oh, yeah. What a way to kick off the new year with a good Schwarzenegger movie.
Yeah, that's right. Predator. I was looking for it earlier, and I was just typing in uh, the Predator,
Mm-hmm.
the Predator, and I'm like, why is it not bringing up what I want? And apparently, be careful how you're typing it because the Predator is not the movie from 1987. It's just Predator.
Correct.
And then if you mess up and type in Predators, you're going to get the one where they're sent to the planet
Yeah.
where they're being hunted by the predators there. So live and learn, just so everybody knows. But Predator from 1987. This is one of my favorite, if not the absolute favorite, Arnold Schwarzenegger movie that he's done. And I like quite a bunch of them. True Lies, I love. Total Recall was good. Eraser was good. Commando was probably. Oh man, I forgot Commando. Wow, Commando and Predator, man, they're like, I don't know. It's like,
See, I like Commando, but I'm a softie for the Running Man. I love the Running Man. That's that. But I was gonna say, and when it comes to '80s, I think
yes,
it's Running Man, Predator are pretty close in close in there. Terminator is good, but I don't have the love for Terminator that other people do. I think it's good, but I don't think that
right.
Schwarzenegger was still trying to figure out who he was. He didn't have much screen time. He's barely in the movie really.
Right.
But you said True Lies. I think True Lies may be my all time favorite Schwarzenegger movie. I love
And
True
I do
Lies.
love Terminator as well, like you said.
Yeah,
Terminator 2,
yeah.
Terminator 3. I mean, it's just that, like you mentioned, he was still trying, I think, to figure himself out in the
Hmm.
original Terminator, as good as it was.
Yeah.
Um, I'm also more of a fan of the good guy of the movie and everything usually. And
Hmm.
Schwarzenegger was not the good guy of
Correct.
Terminator, but they
Correct.
figured a way to turn that around. Though they did. They figured out who likes what. And they flipped him around,
Exactly.
and two, now he's the good one in that, right? So,
Hmm.
um, man, Terminator. How can I forget that one too?
Don't forget about Conan the Barbarian.
You know, I haven't forgot about Conan, but I am not a huge Conan mark. Okay,
Yeah.
people are gonna look at me and say, "What?" Of course, my original co-host Travis loves Conan.
Yeah.
He is so
Yeah.
big on Conan. He's got like a Conan unopened box, an open DVD, the Blu-rays, got all these different things. I believe he's got a Conan sword.
Oh wow.
If I'm not mistaken, he can quote you
No, I
every
believe it.
major quote from Conan, the Barbarian, and probably Conan the Destroyer too. Truth be known. So I mean, everybody's got their thing, right? I mean, we know when it comes to Schwarzenegger, a lot of his stuff is quoted quite often,
Oh
and
yeah.
from this movie alone, we get our favorite, like "Stick Around."
Hmm.
When he sticks the guy to the tree with the big knife or something. He's well known for those things. But this movie was, believe it or not. Now, do you think this movie that year? I don't know if you looked it up or anything or not today, because usually you look some things up before we do these things, and
I do.
sometimes you don't get around to them. But did you know this movie was not the number one movie that year?
It was not. Yeah.
And you would think such a big grossing movie as this for Schwarzenegger would be the movie of the year, right? But no, not so much. Do you remember what the movie of the year was that year?
I don't. I didn't look it up, but I mean, I just know from when we did the episode that it was not the number one movie of the year.
If I'm not mistaken, Beverly Hills Cop 2,
That sounds right. That sounds right.
the actual movie. Now, this movie itself does not do shabby. Uh,
No, I don't think it was as big of a hit. I mean, it's more definitely a favorite, but I don't think it was quite the box office hit
I don't think
that.
it really took off to a VHS.
Yeah, yeah. I don't remember if this was like, oh yeah, it was June, so it was a summer release. So I'm sure it did well, but back then summer stuff just even now when they got new movies coming out every week, so sometimes it has a big opening weekend, and then it kind of diminishes as the weeks go on with other new releases coming out. So,
Right.
but
Well, I mean, the
Beverly Hills Cop
budget.
2 was huge, so I can see why that
Oh, it
made more money.
was.
Yeah.
That was it. The first movie was huge, and this one was
Mhm.
way expected and waited for by the fans of it. So they couldn't wait for that to hit. This was kind of new. What wasn't really new for Schwarzenegger because he'd done sci-fi with Terminator.
Right.
But this is kind of a sci-fi kind of feel to it with
Mhm.
the Predator in it hunting them down. And the estimated budget, $15 million. Opening weekend alone, it almost made the budget. It's $12 million roughly.
Mhm.
The gross worldwide, it grossed $98,268,458. So it didn't do bad,
It's not bad at all.
but it still was not. After making all that much money, the movie of the year, Beverly Hills Cop 2 ended up being with it. Hour and 47 minutes long, which is to me kind of like a nice spot. Hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Hour and 45 minutes for a movie like this is the perfect length, I think. You get a little bit of a story up front, enough to understand it and like it, and then you get all the action and the fun stuff.
Oh yeah.
So, and the cast, can you tell me a better cast of people to have as a group? They were not mercenaries. They were just this.
Commandos.
Yeah, they were commandos. That they're there for rescue purposes mostly. Mostly, they don't
Mhm.
do the infiltrating and kill and that type of deal like some of the others do and everything. But Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, Carl Weathers was not a part of his group. He was the one that he knew as a from before, another
Former
other
colleague, yeah.
former colleague, like who's gone to work with the CIA. Bill Duke,
Mhm.
which I think Schwarzenegger likes to work with. He worked with him in Commando as well.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
Jesse Ventura, he
You
worked with
work with him
Schwarzenegger in The Running
yeah.
Man.
Yep.
Sonny Landham,
Oh yeah.
who played
He
Billy.
was in wasn't he in Commando as well?
I don't believe he was.
He was in
I was trying
something
to
else.
think. I know he was in 48 Hours,
He
but I
was
don't remember.
that's what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of Sully. Sully was also the guy
No,
who played
stuff.
Sully was also in
And it's in 48 Hours.
48 Hours. That's it, but he
Yes,
worked with that's where I got
that's right.
I got
Okay.
him mixed up there.
Then we got Richard Chavez, played
Mhm.
Pancho. I don't know if he played with Arnold in another movie or not,
I
but
don't
his
remember.
character is really smooth, though,
Yeah.
for a commando type guy. He's the one that we're talking about when Ventura gets hit. He's like, "Man, you're bleeding." He goes, "I ain't got time to bleed." He's
Mhm.
like, "Yeah, well," and he launches 3 grenades up on the guy at the top because Ventura's like, "That guy's dug in like an Alabama tick."
Right, right.
So he shoots up 3 grenades up there. And he goes, "Well, you got time to move?"
Mhm.
Then boom,
Mhm.
boom, boom. Uh, R.G. Armstrong was General Phillips.
Yep.
A lot of people may not know the name R.G. Armstrong, but when you see the man, you can tell right away. You've seen him in a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And he sticks out to me, unless I'm thinking of somebody different, as the guy who was the captain to Chuck Norris in Lone Wolf McQuade of the Texas Rangers. I don't know if that's him or not.
I'm trying to look through his filmography. Let me go back. I didn't go back far enough. Hold
Well,
on.
while you're looking at that, we also had Shane Black playing Hawkins,
Yep, yep.
and I don't recall Shane Black from most any of the movies, really.
No, he really didn't do that many. He was like he started as an actor, but he was really a screenwriter. So he didn't do a whole lot of acting work. That's one of his few. But he also doctored the script while he was there working on the movie. But yes, you were right about R.G. Armstrong. He was in Lone Wolf McQuade.
Okay, now he looked like he was. Now he just
Yeah,
that look is kind of unforgettable.
he's got that Western kind of look to him.
Oh, he did westerns too. Now I
Yeah.
remember from where I remember. If I'm not mistaken, he played in a few episodes of Gunsmoke and some actual
Hmm.
movies themselves. Um, Gosh, I didn't watch many of the old westerns when he was in them, so I can't really tell you a lot of what he was
Right.
in. But still,
I
good
just know he had
cast
that
though.
face. Yeah.
Now, the Predator himself was played by Kevin Peter Hall. He
Hmm.
also did Harry and the Hendersons, I think, didn't he? Wasn't he the Bigfoot?
I believe he was. That is correct. Yep.
I can't swear to this, but I think he was. And do you know a little bit of trivia before we go past this point, since we're talking about the Predator himself? Do you know who the original person who played the Predator was?
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
I mean, what's up with that? Can you imagine they got a fight going on, and all of a sudden the Predator jumps up and does a split leg roundhouse kick?
Yeah, the suit was also a little different. So like they weren't sure what the Predator was going to be when they first started filming. So they definitely tried a few things. You can find some of those pictures online of Van Damme in the original, quote unquote, original Predator suit, yeah, they made the right choice. That's all I'm going to say. They changing it up was much better, and I guess so. Originally, the Predator was supposed to be much more like a hand-to-hand combat, more karate, whatever, martial arts. But Van Damme wasn't able to do the moves in the suit as easy.
Right.
So yeah, he quit.
I'm glad they did not make it like that.
Yeah.
Because that just wouldn't have. I mean, looking back on what we've seen and what we took in with it, that would not have fit at all.
No, I think that would have put it in more. It would have felt more like a B movie at that point. I mean, it's all far fetched anyway. But you get into it would take some of the movie would not be as grounded as it is now. Because even though it's still sci-fi, but it feels like it could really happen. Like it feels much more grounded. That the Predator that we have in this film makes more sense of him being a real predator hunter, not just a fighter or a warrior.
Right, and the thought behind it, and maybe it doesn't look like the Predator does, but the thought behind, like you said, something coming from another planet and hunting people for sport on this one based on what their criteria is, could, who knows? We don't know what's out there. It's a huge universe.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, definitely some believable stuff there. But if they had gone with it and made it like that, I started to say, I believe you just did a podcast of something from outer space that does kung fu. Only it's quack fu.
It's quack fu, and that's Howard the Duck. Yes, we just did an episode on Howard the Duck.
Dude, I saw your thing for that, and I was like, man, flooding to my mind all these things, all the different things. There's so many duck puns in it.
Oh yeah,
and I was like, was it quack fu or duck fu?
Yeah,
I couldn't remember. And I was like, I hit you up on your post. I'm like, which is it? That's awesome stuff. I've not seen that movie since the 80s, man. I've got to go back and watch that one again eventually. And you guys get a chance to check out his podcast on Howard the Duck.
Please do.
As well as the rest of them. Which we have told everybody before, but in case they don't remember, 80s Flicks Flashback.
That's me. Yep.
80s Flick. You will find him everywhere you find the podcast at. The man is everywhere. I mean, it makes my show look tiny. I mean, he gets like 10,000 per episode, or
no, not yet.
9,000. 9,000. No,
not yet. I appreciate. I appreciate
he's got more than me.
Yeah, I appreciate the sentiment. Yeah, we'll get there eventually. But yeah, we're getting there.
We're all gonna get there.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna be looking down later, going, "We got 10,000. What do you have?" Don't worry, kid. Been there, done that. Right. You'll get there. That's what we're gonna do. We get. I done lost track of where I was at, man. This is the.
You were talking about Van Damme being the original Predator.
Van Damme being the original Predator. Yes, I'm really glad to serious stuff that it didn't go that direction. It just would not have been the same at all. I mean, I like the setup of the group. All right, Jesse Ventura and Bill Duke, Mac and Blaine. They went into this one fight together as Mac is telling the story after Blaine's been killed. And he tells about how the two of them went into this place. Terrible fight. Everybody died, it seemed like, except them two walked out. Like they were the two that made it and walked out and everything. And the shot that Blaine took from the Predator, from the laser cannon on his shoulder.
Yeah.
That shot straight the way one hit his arm, I guess, or his gun, one or the other. The other one hits him straight through the chest coming from the back.
Oh, yeah.
Explodes the chest outward, and everything is cauterized shut. Now, it's like he's dead, obviously, but there's no blood leaking anywhere. Just everything is just cauterized shut from them. They're like, what in the world could have made the damage like this? What was it? Did you see it? The two of them together were really good. Sonny Landham, you got your guy. He's your tracker. He's the one that knows the terrain. He's he's of Indian descent. He's got
Mm-hmm.
all the skills you would look for in somebody who could do the things he's expected to do and help them out. I think Richard Chavez though was more of a weapons kind of guy for the group,
Yeah, I think so.
and that and the tracker both because he sent him off track in one way and Sonny, Billy another. So that is kind of interesting. The character Hawkins, I don't think he really fit in so well with that group.
No.
I think he was just a humor aspect because he's the first one to get killed and go,
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
humor because he's telling Sonny jokes we're not going to repeat on the show.
No, yeah.
trying trying to
Not the
get
best jokes either.
no, not the best of jokes, but just trying to get him to laugh. And he finally laughs at one of them, but we'll leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not surprised that he didn't last long. Just from beginning of the movie, watching it, even when I first saw it, I think I remember to myself when I first watched it thinking he's probably gonna be the first one to die because he just doesn't seem important.
Yeah, he's the red shirt of the group for sure.
Yeah, I thought originally what would happen was the two biggest names in that group of people there was Carl Weathers and Schwarzenegger.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the two of them would be living to fight against the Predator in the end, and of course, we see what happened. Dylan Carl Weathers goes after Mac, who chases after
Mm-hmm.
the Predator, who he sees him and chases after him and everything. And this is the first time that Dylan actually sees the Predator,
Right,
and
right.
he comes to the realization this is completely what he said it was. It's true.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to make amends here. I've got to go help him and make sure he comes back because he's just lost somebody. We don't want to lose him too. So he just tells him, make sure you hold that chopper. You know, we're going to be there. And of course, they hear in the distance what happens, and they don't come back from it either.
Right, right.
But he's this thing is taking them out one at a time.
Mm-hmm.
An elite military commando group.
Yeah.
It's really. Yeah, I'd like to say just a crazy thing altogether in my mind, thinking about how you'd have something that could pick them apart, and then they can't figure out what's going on, not knowing that it's
Mm-hmm.
using the trees.
Yeah.
It's going through the tree. It's not touching the ground at all. That's why they're not
Mm-hmm.
seeing anything, or why
Right.
they're missing. But is there any part of this movie leading up from beginning to where they are? They have they decide they're going to take a stand, right? Because if they
Mm-hmm.
don't take a stand, they may not make it to the chopper at all.
Right, right.
Is there a part of yours so far that kind of stands out as a favorite or that you've liked so far in the movie?
Um, I mean, yeah. I mean, I think the probably. I mean, especially as a kid, like watching this for the first time, and I don't think I saw this one in the theater. I think I saw this one on VHS when it came out. But I remember the part that we all, like me and my friends, would want to sit down and watch is the attack on the compound when they finally
Yeah,
find the guy. You know, I think they're supposed to be like Central American or whatever, and like
right.
Sonny's like, if these guys are Central American, I'm Asian or so. I can't remember. I don't remember the specific line he makes, but basically like that whole action sequence is great because it's funny because the last two episodes that I've done on my podcast, Howard the Duck and Santa Claus the movie, we've talked about are kind of like two different genre, or like the beginning of the movie is completely different from the second half of the movie, but that doesn't work. Like Santa Claus the movie, the first part of that is like every kid's fantasy of Santa Claus, and it brings all the nostalgia, and the second half gets really weird and doesn't really fit with the first half. Kind of the same thing with Howard the Duck. The first half of the movie is zany and goofy and kind of funny, and then they get to this sci-fi part where it's like the tones don't really match. But with this movie, it works because the first hour, and except for the opening shot of the spacecraft coming out of the atmosphere, which I always forget is at the beginning of this movie. I never
Right.
remember that that's the beginning. Um, but the first half of this movie is just like your typical action movie that we were so used to seeing back then of, there's this commando group and they're going in to rescue these hostages and there's going to be a shootout. So that shootout scene was what we wanted from a great action movie and what we expected. So all the carnage and of course you get the one-liners, like I said, stick around and knock, knock. And he knocks the door, kicks over the door and then, realizes that it's all the setup. They weren't there to get hostages, that Dylan only brought them there to get the intel that they had and this and that. Then it becomes this sci-fi, almost like a horror movie, but it works. It's still like it doesn't, those two genres, at least in this movie, seemed to work really well. So up to that point, yeah, the whole shootout at the compound is still one of my favorite action sequences of any action movie of the 80s.
And I think it works because they're still in that same general vicinity of the jungle. They
Oh
haven't
yeah,
left the
yeah,
jungle.
right, right.
They started out getting dropped off in the jungle to go into the compound you talked about,
Mm-hmm.
thinking that they're supposed to be holding people hostage there.
Right.
And while they're looking, you do see somebody getting executed. They were questioning them. They wouldn't talk. They
Mm-hmm.
shoot them. That's it. So you're thinking, he just shot one of the hostages. We got to hurry up and move in.
Right.
But they get in there and they start taking care of business. They're blowing things up right and left. Like you said, we get the one-liners we look for. We get the fun stuff I mentioned earlier with Blaine and the other guy where it's like, you got time to move.
Chavez, yeah.
Yeah, and when you get into the part of the hut where Dylan's going through the paperwork and he's exposing himself right there. He's giving it away. Oh, yes, this is better than anything we could have thought it could have been. Oh, it's great. It's all here. This is awesome. And
right.
he's looking for something I can't find it. And Schwarzenegger's like, I believe this is what you're looking for. And he kind of hands it to him, but he grabs him with his left hand, just like he picks him up and puts him on the wall almost.
Yeah.
I don't think he actually had him in the air, though. I think he just kind of shoved him into the wall and then forcefully held him there. And he said, you set us up.
Mm-hmm.
What is going on here? This never was about hostages. This is about something else. What's going on? And then he tells him, we stopped a major invasion. With all this information they got, they were going to, within 2 days, make a major invasion. And we stopped this from happening. This is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
But he made the point earlier in the movie when he's talking to the general that his people are not, mercenaries. They're not the type to go in and just kill and wipe things out. That's not their style. They go in to rescue and bring people home.
Yeah.
And so he's a little bit mad that he's been used and lied to. Yeah. And Dylan tells him to wake up. You're an asset. You're being used. And I lied to get you here. Yeah. Exactly. You're expendable. Where'd that come from? Where did that go later on?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. That seemed like another movie that came out much later.
I think that was reused by a colleague / buddy / 1980s frenemy of his.
Right.
For another movie later on that they both starred in. But he tells him, that if I told you I need you to come do this, you wouldn't have come. I had to tell you what I need to get you to tell you to get you to come here because you're the best they could do it. So he's like, is that what you told Jim Hopper?
Mm-hmm.
The name Hopper, by the way. Did you ever watch Stranger Things?
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
So I only watched the first season,
and
I didn't get past it. I haven't started the second one, so I can't say it lost me or anything. I just haven't got to it anymore. But someone told me that the sheriff's name is Hopper, I think, and that's kind of a throwback to the Predator. Is that
it's kind of like a wink, nod, because of course Hopper in Predator is dead, so it's not really Hopper because he wouldn't have survived.
Right. But I mean, kind of a shout out to the show in a way, we're recognizing because all throughout the first season, you get little tidbits of other shows you recognize, and like at one point, you think you're watching E.T. Some of the stuff they do, it's like kind of a throwback to that general show or movie or something. That.
Lots of nods, but you got, and then Hawkins, who was one of the other characters, is same name as the town. So there's this big, I don't want to say like conspiracy, but this fan theory that that the writers, the brothers that did the Stranger Things must have been huge Predator fans because they named their main character Hopper and the town after Hawkins from the Predator movie.
That is awesome, though. I don't care what people say. They talk about actors and actresses, and they say that, man, these people got it made. Look how much money they make. I mean, and you quite used to be as much as it is today because of how much money the movies make these days. So naturally, the stars are going to get a bigger chunk of it.
Right.
But I mean, to say that an actor or an actress doesn't really work for their money, I know they got stunt doubles. They got stunt doubles, yes, okay. But while filming this movie, they ran into a variety of hardships.
Yes, they did.
I understand reading, but I mean, you're talking anything from leeches to snakes, stifling humidity and heat, rough terrain, And it says all the night scenes were filmed during freezing cold temperatures, which was
Hmm.
especially hard on Schwarzenegger during the latter half of the film when the mud he had to wear became cold and wet. And then the mud on top of it was actually pottery clay.
Right.
So, I mean, he would, so he was warned that he would take his body temperature down a few degrees, but they said he shivered nonstop, even when they tried to heat him up with lamps. All it did was make the clay dry out.
Hmm.
So, I mean, to say that these guys don't, do things right, I mean, it's really crazy.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've read several stories. They talked about in Harrison Ford filming Raiders of the Lost Ark had like food poisoning or dysentery. I mean, he had some kind of weird, throwing up, and he should have been in a hospital, but he was still out there in the desert shooting scenes because hey, got to
Yeah,
stay on schedule, got to stay on budget. And
right.
other movies where people have been like really sick, but they are, was it? I know, Jeremy Renner. Of course, thoughts and prayers to Jeremy Renner as he's recovering from his accident at home. But when he was
So,
making the,
was
go
that at
ahead.
home that happened? That
It was near his house, or we're near where he lives.
okay?
So
I heard what happened with him and everything.
yeah,
I've seen some clips from him from the hospital. He's where he
yeah,
was
he's
in
doing
bed.
he's doing okay. But
Yeah.
yeah, but he was doing one of the stunts for the movie Tag. I know we're getting away from '80s movies, but uh, I think the story was he was on some chairs and they were supposed to go forward, but instead they went back because the weight shifted some weird way, and he fell and basically broke his arm, dislocated his shoulder.
Hmm.
So he filmed the rest of the movie with his arm in a cast that they had to then reshoot or change some of the scenes, and had to green screen. He had to wear a green cast so they could go back and digitally edit, make it look like he had a regular arm when it wasn't broken in the cast.
Wouldn't it have made it easier to just go back and refilm a scene to where something happened to where he broke his arm and the rest of the movie he had a broken arm?
Yeah, but I think it because of the character he played, it would have taken it kind of lost the whole part of the movie of them being doing what they do and not getting hurt. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean we've seen that where people have injured themselves and they had to write it into the script at the last minute. So
I got a little bit tickled. When I was reading about things they were trying to do to keep Schwarzenegger warm.
mm-hmm,
They talked about the heat lamps and just dried the clay out. It said he tried drinking a yogurt tea,
mm-hmm.
a schnapps mixture to warm him up, but it just got him drunk.
Of course
So,
it did.
so can you see a drunk Arnold? Come here, Predator. Ah, have a
I'm
drink.
here. I'm here. Kill me.
Yes,
Kill me now. I'm here.
drink with me.
Right.
Oh, I do not lay any claim to having a good Arnold impression.
No.
Do not look into that in any way. Uh, but yeah, it's some of the things that this movie went through. All movies got their things, right?
Right. Right.
They get their hardships, they get their hard times. I was just listening to one of our other favorites the other day. They did a repeat of Christmas from last year
Mm-hmm.
because one of them ended up getting sick
Yep.
with COVID. Finally, I mean, glad he's doing okay.
Oh
And
yeah.
I say finally, not like I'm trying to be snarky, like it's about time everybody else got it.
Right.
But
Right.
no, I mean, it just so happened this guy happened to catch it. But anyway, they had did a show on Prancer, which I really like, and the girl that played in Prancer uh, had actually gotten sick while filming.
Mm-hmm.
They're really cold weather, uh, and instead of just taking time off from the movie, they're filming scenes while she's in bed when she was supposedly sick in the movie anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So they
Mm-hmm.
just rearranged their whole thing they did
The
and
shooting
did
schedule.
scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, did scenes they didn't need her in, and the ones that did need her in were since she was sick, and they did those, that good stuff. So I mean, from the kids clear up to the adults, these people are putting the time in,
Oh yeah.
and they are definitely earning that money. I would say, at one point in time, any of us have probably been like, I could do that. Why can't I do that and make all this money? And then we get there and be like, what do you mean I got to drop 50 pounds and put on 10 pounds of extra muscle after I do that? What? I can't have pizza? No,
Right.
even something like that. I mean, as little as going on a diet or adding more weight or toning out or something, having to go through these hard workout sessions to get prepared for it. Some of these guys and gals go in and even learn uh, a small form of martial arts to get enough to get by in the movie for what they're doing and not really become like an expert at it, but just enough to get by in the movie, and then maybe they discuss or discover a like for it and go further. I don't know,
Yeah.
but the whole thing is these guys really do work and work hard. Did you hear the story of Jesse Ventura? I'm sure you did. You did the show once already.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jesse and Arnold.
Their nice little rivalry during filming.
Yes. Now, you remember it was about who had the biggest arm, right? Whose muscle
Who worked out
measured.
more? Yeah.
Yeah, they were having a little competition and stuff, and I think it was it Arnold or was it Ventura that wanted to get the arms measured to see who had the biggest arms?
It sounds like something Ventura would want to do. I don't
I
remember
think.
specifically.
Let's see. Hold on. Let me scroll back around here. Here we go. Ventura was delighted to find out from wardrobe department that his arms were 1 inch bigger than Arnold Schwarzenegger's. He suggested to Schwarzenegger that they measure arms, with the winner getting a bottle of champagne. Ventura lost because Schwarzenegger had told the wardrobe department to tell Ventura that his arms were bigger.
Yep.
I don't know. I would look at that as on-set practical joking.
Oh yeah. I mean, they're having fun, but it's kind of a friendly rivalry.
Yes, and I mean it's a much more friendly rivalry joke than what he did to Stallone when it comes to Stop or My Mom Will Shoot.
Right.
I don't know if you've heard this story or not. Have you heard that story?
Yeah.
Okay, so we told it on a previous show before. Myself and Travis did.
Right.
And just to make it really quick, Schwarzenegger and Stallone were very competitive in the 80s. They were always one up at each other, how many kills, how much muscle they had, who shot the bigger gun. So the word got out that Schwarzenegger was about to do this movie called Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, and Stallone really wanted to get ahead of him. So he begged the people to let him have the role.
Right.
As it turned out, Schwarzenegger put that stuff out there. He never had any intention of taking the role.
No.
He just wanted to make sure that he took it instead and stuck him with it. And I was like, oh my God, that is so hilarious.
Yeah. Because, and it's crazy that he would fall for it. That's what's crazy.
I know. And I like both of them. I like the movies they put out. But just to see one day, it's like the hardest prank of all to put on someone to say, look, you trick him into taking this awful movie. And I never liked it. I remember watching it. And I was like, this is not what I want to see Sylvester Stallone doing. This is not.
I don't think I ever watched it. I mean, I remember people talking about how bad it was. And I don't think I ever actually. I might have seen bits and pieces of it, but I never actually watched it. So
funny one-liners are one thing. It's like I don't want to see Schwarzenegger in a comedy. I mean, Twins was the exception because you had Danny DeVito to pull the movie along for the comedy and everything. And I to this day I've never seen Junior, and I won't watch it.
I think I did see it, but I wasn't a fan of it at all. Yeah. You can say True Lies is kind of has some comedy in it, but it's not a straight up comedy.
Right. So, and I would say the comedy involved with it's more revolved around people like Tom Arnold.
Right. He carries the heavy lifting in the comedy department.
I mean, you get that funny story in True Lies where or the funny part where he's taking Bill Paxton down the road of the driving.
Yeah.
Where he's checking out the car. He thinks Bill Paxton is messing around with his wife. And he's trying to actually. He is trying to make her think she's important just so we can get her in bed and everything. But the things he does during this little daydream sequence thing, and then eventually makes him pee his pants or something.
Right.
Some of those things are kind of humorous and funny, but they're not comedy, funny. Is to me, not, at least to me, it's not anyway. I thought it was funny when he's telling the guy who put the truth serum in him that he's laughing. He said, "What are you laughing at?" He says, "Oh, in about 15 seconds, I'm about to break free with this arm here. I'm going to snap this guy's neck, and I'm going to do this and that."
Right.
And he's like, "Well, that's interesting. How are you going to do that? Well, you're still, handcuffed to the chair." And he's like, "I got free." And then it starts. I mean, I'm just dying laughing at this. With age. I forget what age I was when I watched it, but stuff like that's great. And so, speaking of the one-liners and the funny things, what do you think? Arnold's personal favorite catchphrase of all of his films that he appears in.
Get to the chopper.
Get to the chopper. Yes. It is his favorite. People have used and abused that over the years so much.
But if you haven't seen I think it's a bit he did on Jimmy Fallon,
Mhm.
where him and Jimmy Fallon did like an infomercial for a chopping, like a
Yes.
chopper thing. Like, and he had to use that line a couple of times. It was great.
Yes, it was awesome. And then of course he's got the different little things. He's like where he sticks the guy badly with a machete, and the guy's stuck to a wooden pole, and he just turns around and says, "Stick around." And it says this was apparently improvised by Schwarzenegger. It wasn't a part of the script. They didn't suggest to say "stick around." He
Right.
just does it, and he just pops in his head to say "stick around." You know, and I don't know of all his movies what has the most one-liners. I want to say I think Commando probably has the most one-liners.
Yeah, I think so. I don't remember them as well. I don't remember the ones in Commando as well as I remember the ones in Predator.
Now, we mentioned earlier pranking each other on set. So Ventura pulled a prank on Schwarzenegger by pouring water all over himself while at the gym before Arnold arrived.
Right.
Thinking that Ventura was drenched in sweat, Arnold believed that Ventura was working out longer than he usually did. Well, he couldn't have this. He resolved to begin his workout sooner. He and Ventura both started arriving earlier to one up each other. They both started arriving at 4 a.m. in the morning. Not quite as funny as the measuring of the arms.
No.
But just now, I mean, to me, that could have stopped right there at the gym when he sees him drenched in sweat. Just put it in his mind, that I'm working harder than you, and leave it at that. I could see that.
Right.
But anyway, I'm seeing parts about Van Damme now talking about the what they refer to as a ninja-like hunter. You know what, though? If they had gone with Van Damme originally and made him a ninja-like hunter, they couldn't have put him in a suit like that. I mean, we talk about being a different suit. I mean, I'm talking like he couldn't be a monster type alien. I don't think.
No.
And I'm not sure how you would really dress him out in that sense, but still.
Yeah, I mean, like, you got to think about back then too with the kind of suits that they did. Where even you can even tell it in this one, it's a very, thick rubber kind of a suit. So there's not a lot of mobility to be able to do much. I mean,
they have to change a lot around.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Predator's blood?
Yes. The glowing neon green.
Color of Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
Using a mixture of liquid from inside glow sticks with KY jelly.
Yeah, and even watching it now, it's like I'm sure they use that, but they had to have added a glowing effect even more so because it looks like they doctored it up some. Maybe it's since they've kind of redigitized it for like DVD and Blu-rays and stuff. They may have enhanced it from what it was when we were younger, but it definitely doesn't look. It looks like it has more of a glowing. They've added a glowing effect on it. So
yeah, make it kind of stand out more. Now I didn't know this, but Schwarzenegger had lost. This is what I was mentioning earlier when it comes even something as simple as dieting or putting on weight or putting on muscle. He lost over 25 pounds before filming in order to better fit the role of a special warfare operative who would be lean as well as muscular.
Right.
I don't remember him being, big though before that. I mean, he'd have to lose 25 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think he's been bigger, like more, like more muscular. I mean, he's still in good shape in this one, but he is a little bit leaner. Of course, there's some scenes where you can definitely tell it's the stunt double who's definitely not as muscular as Schwarzenegger is. So that's always fun to watch to see, pick out the stunt double. I feel like I'm that meme of Leonardo DiCaprio in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood where he's pointing at the TV like, there he is, there's a stunt double. I can see him right there. So, but yeah, there's a few, like, especially towards the end when he's running, there's one scene where he's the Predator is approaching him when he's in the water, and you can definitely tell that the guy he's approaching is not Schwarzenegger. He's the stunt double. But I think he was a little bit leaner. I mean, 25 pounds, it sounds like a lot to us, guys like you and me that would, love to lose 25 pounds.
Yes, very much so.
But on him, it's more muscle mass than, anything else. And so he probably just wanted to tone down a little bit more, not be as buff. If you've seen him in like Pumping Iron and Conan, I mean, he's really, full on bodybuilder shape. And
ripped,
so that's different than, fighting shape. So,
man. Now, I did not notice about Sonny Landham. It says the studio's insurance company would not agree to insure their production unless a bodyguard was hired for Sonny Landham, who played Billy.
Right.
For the sole purpose of protecting people
from him.
Sonny. Yes.
Yeah.
The bodyguard followed Sonny everywhere to ensure he didn't get into a fight, since he was well known to be violent and short-tempered. I honestly never knew that before. That's new to me. I mean, thinking of the other movies I've seen him in and seeing what type of characters that he plays, that sounds exactly like they make him out to be in real life. The character he played in 48 Hours.
Yeah, definitely.
Playing Tommy's brother in Best of the Best 3, where he's teaching them how to fight with the sticks and everything. That's just exactly just a violent drunk who was giving them a hard time and abusing them a little more than he should have. That sounds exactly how they're making him out to be in real life, and I never knew that. Of course, a lot of people by now know and I'm not going to say he's the voice of, because there's no voice for the Predator, really.
No, just the noises that he makes.
The little noises and clicks he makes, Peter Cullen does. And Peter Cullen, which is more famous for doing Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
And well, some other things. But when I think of Peter Cullen, the first thing I think of is Optimus Prime for the Transformers. Man. Well, they get to the part toward now. Schwarzenegger has figured out let's just call him what he is, Dutch. Dutch figures out towards the end of the movie. And it's so much easier to say than Schwarzenegger. I mean, Dutch.
Right. Dutch
figures out while he's on the run. Now, everybody but him and the one guy that took the log, I think was Chavez.
Yeah, I think so.
And the girl. They're on their way. Billy has stayed back to challenge the Predator on the log to try and keep him from getting across, because he's already foreseen, I guess, in his eyes, everybody's going to die.
Right.
That's all there is to it. So he said, my time has come now, I guess. He says, where I'm going to put my stand at. So, he's almost there. And he gets one last shot in on the guy he hurt, kills him. He's dead now and gone. The girl goes to pick up the rifle just to fire because she thinks she can do it. And as Dutch knocks her away, turns the fire at him, he takes a little laser blast of his own. Now, here's the thing for me on this. Everybody has taken a laser blast so far, and it's not come away too pretty. Dylan lost half of his right arm.
Right.
Blaine took a gaping hole in the chest.
Right.
He just hit Chavez in the head. And they didn't show you what he did. He's face down on the ground. You probably don't want to see this. But all we get for Dutch is a bruise on his shoulder.
Yeah, I want to say we talked about this on my episode, and I think it seems to be implied that the shot hits Dutch's gun and that he's bruised from the gun coming back and hitting him, not actually getting hit. But I would think if the laser is strong enough to blow up in a guy's chest, it would probably completely disintegrate the gun that he had in his hand. But it's an 80s movie, and the hero has to survive.
Right, but there's always those in all the 80s movies we watched and 90s movies. There's always something that stands out that they should have known people are going to pick up on, that they should have done a little bit differently or something.
Yeah.
Don't give him the laser blast. Have something thrown.
Right.
That some of the weaponry he has, like let's say he had a boomerang type weapon that hits his gun, which knocks him into his shoulder, knocks him down, it comes back to him. I mean, something along those lines, a little
Right.
more believable to it and all.
And then too, if he
But
was a real predator, like once Dutch was down, you would thought he would have shot again and took him out while he was, kind of wide open.
right,
But that also goes back to the girl, and I'm sorry we're not using her name because I don't remember what it is
I
at
think
this
it was
point.
Anna.
Anna, yeah. Which they don't know their girl's name through most of the movie anyway. But like, how's she even in this movie? Because they're totally destroying this. Going back to the compound, totally destroying this compound. She walks up behind Dutch. He basically knocks her out, and they just take her as a prisoner. Was she fighting with them? Was she trying to be rescued? Like, we don't know anything about her, but she obviously has to be in the movie going forward. So the writers had to find a way for her to be part of the group, which I think is just interesting because even watching it today, when she comes up behind and gets hit, I'm like, she has no backstory to know like why she was even approaching Dutch. Was she really trying to hurt him after he's blown away every other guy in that room? That would be a dumb
Right.
thing for her to do. Um, so I'm assuming that she was a hostage of theirs, that they don't realize that, and they're just tagging her along. So that's another one of my big question marks. That one of those little logic parts that don't really work in this movie.
Exactly. And all I can figure that she was different for in it was letting them know certain key things. Like she finally
Mm-hmm.
breaks down and tells them in the jungle when your big friend died. The other guy, he hit him. He shot him. His blood
Mm-hmm.
was on the leaves. It was a
Right.
green liquid on the leaves or something. So that leads to another one of the famous lines from the movie: "If it bleeds, we can kill it."
Exactly.
Yeah. So she's there for that. She brings that aspect to it. She gives them a little confidence there that they know it's been injured and it's
Mm-hmm.
bleeding. So if it's bleeding something and they can injure it, they can kill this thing if they said if they do their stuff right. That's
Right.
what they're thinking. So
Right.
uh, that part I kind of get. They It was never thought about, and I guess because of what it was to them, it was this weird thing that they finally realized it's up in the trees. And they're getting some looks at it, and it's working like a chameleon to blend in with the forest and such. And they don't know its full capabilities, but how is it seeing exactly where they are and everything and what they're doing, and not realizing that it's got like a night vision kind of thing to them and a heat uh, infrared kind of
Mm-hmm.
view
Mm-hmm.
when he's escaping from the predator, and he falls down into the water and climbs back up out of the water, and he's got the mud all over him.
Mm-hmm.
I found that a little bit funny, but I guess it's because he had his head sideways in the mud at first, and he starts pulling himself through. So it's just mud. So he turns his head mud side out. And he's looking to see if he's trying to blend in with the thing behind him. Right,
Right.
arms
Right.
pulled up, mix blends in with the logs behind him, the brush and everything,
Right.
and it can't see him now. Now it's
Mm-hmm.
blind. Now he's blind to him. You can't find him. He shoots over at a thing where this little muskrat or mouse or something was going
Right.
through.
Right.
So it hits Dutch at that point. He's seeing his body temperature, his body heat.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he's tracking them. And I don't think he ever actually says it out loud or
No.
anything.
No.
But at that point forward, he's working with things that are heat related. Like he's going to build a big bonfire. He's going to do
Mm-hmm.
this with flames and fire and explosion and all this stuff. Uh, so he's figured out that it's the infrared and the body temperature that's doing it. And he has this big grandstand against him at the end. It's me versus him now. I'm gonna take him out. I'm Dutch. I'm the man. Everybody else is gone. The
Mm-hmm.
chopper's probably not there anymore. So
Right.
and he's far away from where the chopper is supposed to be. He can't make it back in time. But the one thing he can do is avenge his team and take this thing out. So you know, going into it, he's got mud all over himself. He set up the booby traps everywhere. He's made the bow. He's got the little arrow things he's made with the explosive tips on them with the gunpowder and stuff. He sets off the bonfire and yells real loud to get the attention of the predator.
Mm-hmm.
I, I was kind of hoping for in that fight that the whole cat and mouse thing went a little bit longer.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
me, it didn't last very long. Did you
Mm-hmm.
get a feel for that yourself when you watched it? Did you want to see more of him not being seen, doing some more damage to him before he finally
Mm-hmm.
realizes what's going on because he lost all the mud?
Yeah, I did. I thought it was going to be a little bit longer than it was.
I thought it would have been nice if it had been, but I guess for time constraints and everything, they didn't quite get that far with it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but then they have this nice little fight there, and he tries to hit him with a log or something, and it breaks his arm. He's like, not a good idea.
Yeah, yeah.
And so he takes him, he just goes back and he backhands him and sends him
Mm-hmm.
flying across the way. And uh, he actually punches it in the mouth a couple of times and
Right, right.
takes a few punches back.
Now
But
I do like that at that point that the predator is like, we're not going to use the weapons. It's going to be, you and me, kind of like that typical 80s final showdown that's like hand to
yeah,
hand combat. Let's really, have a good old fist fight, which I thought was kind of a cool, little aspect of it.
yeah, takes his cannon thing off, tosses his sides, got all the weapons down, takes off his helmet even on top of it. So he's on the
Hmm. Hmm.
protective of the helmet. And then, of course, you're one ugly
Yeah.
name that we're not going to mention.
Right, right, right.
Uh, so that whole fight thing right there was, I mean, I guess as believable as it could be. He gets some shots in on him, but I mean, mostly he's getting manhandled by the little alien thing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He don't have much of a chance. So he lands in an area where he had the booby traps. He crawls up in there and he's waiting for it. And he's yelling at it, and
Hmm.
it looks up under there at him. And he sees he's stopped and he's not trying to go any further. And before he comes in, he stops, and it's like he's picked up on the little thing poking down.
Little
But
spike, yeah.
he's
Hmm.
looking at the spike. He's kind of touching a little bit and feeling of it. And
Hmm.
Arnold's like, "What are you doing? I'm here. Come and
Hmm.
get me. Come and
Right,
kill me. Come
right.
on." So he looks at him, and it's almost like you get feeling like the predator is almost smiling at him when he looks at
Hmm.
him. It's like, nice try,
Right,
kudos,
right.
but no. So he's coming around the other way to him, and I don't know if this was done purposely this way or if it's just how it worked out when he come into the area where the entrapment was. But he had the trap coming in of the spikes coming down, right?
Right.
That would have got him. I wonder if he had it set up to begin with to catch him with that, and if he still made it past it, uh, to have the log thing tripped and come down on him at the end, or did he have it fixed to where maybe he had something on him no matter what side he came in on?
No, I don't think the log was meant to be what killed him. I think that was just like a counterweight for one of the other traps. So I think he kind of lucked up into seeing like he kind of like the way I saw it today, like he can when he sees him, he realizes, oh, if he's right there under that log, I didn't plan it that way, but if I kick this stick, that's gonna release the log and that'll get him. So I don't think he planned it that way at all. I think it just happened to be, a happy coincidence for him.
Yeah, yeah. Which in case it works out for him,
Yeah.
the power of the log falling from that high up, landing
Hmm.
on his head without his protective equipment on,
Right.
was enough to go ahead and take care of the predator at that point. So he sets when he's looking at him, and he's
Hmm.
like, I forget what the question was at the end of it. It
What the
wasn't.
Yes, what are you? Basically, what are you is what he asks, and then the
Oh
predator
yeah,
asks him back the same thing. Like they're looking at each other, like trying to figure out. They're both aliens to each other at this point. So
yeah. What are you? Or I know it's a little bit more involved than that, but I
yeah,
get it.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember now.
What the blank are you? Yeah.
The blank are you? And then he tells him, he's sitting, he just starts hitting stuff on his thing, and
Mm-hmm.
like he's looking like, what is he doing? And you can't make out what it is until he's recognizing a pattern, and the pattern looks like it's counting down.
Down. Right. Yep.
And now he's laughing. He's got Sonny's laugh going
Mm-hmm.
on that he picked up, and so he realizes he has set some kind of destruction thing off or something. He better take off. And good that he did, or else he'd been dead too. Well, then we finally see the chopper does show up and pick him up and everything.
And you know that the pilot of the chopper is the guy who played the predator.
That guy that played the Predator,
Mm-hmm.
which would be the what
Peter
Peter
Peter Hall.
Peter Hall, Kevin Peter Hall,
Kevin Peter Hall. I knew I got two of the three names right.
Kevin Peter Hall.
Yeah.
See if I can find anything other interesting and tidbit in here before we end the show tonight. So we can find a good one. I'm looking on here and seeing there's quite a few little tidbits of things on here. And I mean,
Oh yeah.
why he brought in Jesse Ventura. I mean, he interviewed him, and basically, he thought he looked the part. He was big enough. He had a deep voice and was
Mm-hmm.
manly. It says Billy first senses the predator after the attack on the guerrilla camp. However, this is not the result of a sixth sense or a heightened state of awareness, which Billy demonstrates in the later segment. Rather, Billy hears the predator mimic his own laugh that he had shared with Hawkins a few seconds before. If you listen closely, you will hear the predator attempt to mimic the laugh somewhat quietly, which unnerves Billy immediately, causing him to look upward toward the trees. I didn't pick up on that, did you?
Mm-mm.
Now I want to go back and see if I can hear it.
Right.
That is kind of interesting.
You
Oh,
saw? Did you saw that originally the script was just going to be Schwarzenegger against the Predator, like just one on one, but Schwarzenegger thought it'd be better to have a team of commandos, so he had the script rewritten to include a team instead of just one on one.
I do remember reading about that. Yes.
Thought that was cool. I think I thought it was a better. He said he wanted to do more of like a Magnificent Seven type of movie, so I think it worked better.
Right. Right. Now they got the actual full names. It says here they were never mentioned in the film, but the full names of the main characters in the original script were Major Alan Dutch Schaefer, Staff Sergeant George Dillon, Sergeant Mac Elliott, Sergeant Blaine Cooper, Sergeant Billy Soule, Corporal Pancho Ramirez, and Corporal Rick Hawkins. So you get all the names of the people there.
Cool.
The original concept from this film originated as a joke. Did you know that?
Oh yeah.
And someone said the only person Rocky Balboa had yet to fight was E.T. the extraterrestrial. So, of course, with the rivalry we had going on,
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger had to take on an alien. All in all, it's one of my favorite movies, I'll say.
Oh, for
And
sure.
I'm
Yeah.
definitely glad we had a chance to talk about it and everything. Hey, we didn't do this at the beginning. We kind of touched on it a little bit, but tell the people about your podcast, man, while we're wrapping things up here a little bit. Let everybody know for sure again about your shows and what you got just released or coming up.
Okay. The 80s Flick Flashback podcast. Every other week we release an episode. It's usually me and a guest co-host, which I'll have Chris on my show here coming up in a few weeks, I guess, in a few months. But I always have another 80s flick loving co-host come on, and we pick a movie and we talk about our first time watch memories, our favorite or iconic scenes, and even learn some trivia about the movie along the way. I'd like to do a lot of research about the movies. But we always have a lot of fun. Doesn't matter what kind of movie it is. We've done everything from Batman to Better Off Dead to Back to the Future to Howard the Duck, which is the most recent episode that we've done. And then, of course, just coming out of Christmas, we had some holiday episodes like Santa Claus the Movie, Scrooged, and what was the one we did before that one? My mind just went blank on me. It doesn't matter. We did some Christmas episodes, but got some excited about stuff coming up this year. We got some fun stuff lined up. So the next couple of weeks we'll be doing. I don't have it all. I haven't got it all finalized yet. But I've got some good stuff planned out. But I do know for the summer we're doing a summer of sequels. So all the movies for June, July, and August will be sequels of movies that we've covered in previous seasons of the show. So I'm looking forward to revisiting some of our favorite 80s franchises like Indiana Jones, Rambo, and Ghostbusters. So,
Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones is one that I have yet to do myself.
okay.
And that'll be something I'm most likely looking at soon also. Uh, and like I said earlier, make sure you do follow Tim's podcast. It's a great fun listen to. He's got different people with different perspectives that come on with him.
Yep.
Which is kind of where I got the idea to get him to come on here, along with a few of the people that I have, since I didn't have my regular co-host anymore. Travis is just not able to.
Right.
But I mean, it's nice to have different, different looks from different people.
Mm-hmm.
What they think on because some of the people that I've talked to had on here co-hosting the show, they have a different outlook on the 80s movies. Some of them were just, well, it was okay, but I like the way it went, but I'm more of a 90s, 2000 kind of person,
right.
and some of them were just right out 80s
Yeah.
80s fanboys. I mean, they know it about heart.
Right. Yeah,
But
I've got most of my co-hosts, some are my age, some are a little older, some are much younger. I've got Charlie, who's definitely a millennial, but he's a big fan of like 80s horror movies. So anytime I have an 80s horror movie, he's happy to join in. So it's fun to get different perspectives from different views. Some people saw him in the theater, some saw him later in life. So it's interesting to see. I remember these movies of seeing them, when they first came out, but for others that saw them later, it's a
right.
different perspective. So it's good to get get that variety in your discussions.
It is, and I look forward to some of the ones you got coming out and everything. I'm not gonna say for sure that I have nailed anything down either 100%.
Right.
I have found that the only thing that I can guarantee you 100% is an idea for a show that I have that will just come down to it that I would talk about it.
Gotcha.
I'm not a real fan of solo work. I'll do it if I have to. I've said this before,
Hmm.
but I'd rather have someone to bounce things off of and
Yeah,
talk
I'm
with
the same way. Yeah.
and get their input. But like today, for example, I had original today was an interview show
Hmm.
with Mr. Jeffrey Owens, I believe. Jeffrey, is it Jeff Owens or Jeffrey Blake? It may be Blake. Let's see what while I'm saying this, I'll look him up too. I don't want to mess the man's name up. He's a cool guy.
Right. Right.
And he was really nice to respond and say he would come on and everything. That is Jeffrey Blake. Now, Jeffrey Blake was known for being in Young Guns. He's been in um, Forrest Gump. I want to say Apollo 13, possibly, and a couple other things. He's got not major roles in them, but small roles in them, as well as
Right.
other things. So he's done a lot of stuff, and I thought that was cool and be fun to talk about the many different things he's done. But like with a lot of people, sometimes you've got emergency stuff come up. He had to take off for the weekend and run. He asked me to reschedule with me. We're rescheduled to the first week of February now. Next week, we're supposed to have an interview with a cartoonist who did some cartoonist and animation and producing and stuff with people like Hanna-Barbera, um, Disney, and all kinds of places. And she had me sold at Hanna-Barbera. And then I'm trying my best to get back in touch with him. He already said yes, if we could just hammer out a date. Mr. Larry Houston. Larry Houston is the animator. If you remember the X-Men, the animated series, they came out in 1997.
Right.
Everybody was so big on. That was him. He was producing the show. He did some drawing, some animating, a lot of the producing. He slipped in some all throughout the episodes. He managed to slip in some cameos. He couldn't use their names. He wasn't allowed to use their names, but he could use the cameos and put them in there. If you spotted them, you knew who they were, right? And he would be a cool guy to talk to if I can get him on as well. And last but not least, so far, someone that I have talked to via email, which I had to reschedule to February also, is Miss Diane Franklin.
Oh yeah,
You're familiar with Diane.
I am. She was fantastic when I interviewed her last
Yeah.
year.
Yeah. So she had let me know that she really wants to come on, that it's just that things have, with her scheduling, is crazy, which I understand. It took me,
Oh yeah.
I think I chased Keith Coogan for about 5 or 6 months. And
Right.
when I say chase him, I mean just getting a date that we could both commit to and
Right.
settle down on.
Right. Right.
So it'll eventually happen. We're going to get these people on. I'm working on getting Catherine Mary Stewart to come back on and do a Weekend at Bernie's
Oh, that'd
only
be good. Oh,
episode
nice.
with me.
Yeah.
I'm working on that. I don't know if she can or not, and I am going to beg and plead and beg and plead and I mean offer to name my next born child if there is one. Whoever she wants it to be, if she will talk Lance Guest into coming on and
Oh wow.
talking last Starfighter.
Very nice.
Now that is nowhere near a guarantee because that means I have to rely on someone who don't know me from Adam, to
Hmm.
say, hey, this guy, I've been on the show a couple of times, yada yada yada. But if she can, it will be awesome. I'll tell her to completely make my year, and I will make a tribute to her in my room somewhere with candles and everything. That might sound too freaky. Maybe I shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about my show, by the way.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You can find me anywhere you can find your podcast as well. iHeartRadio, we're there. Amazon Music, Google Music. You got iTunes and Spotify. iTunes and Spotify are the two major places that I focus on. if you happen to know, and I'm also host on Anchor.fm. If you go to Anchor.fm and follow me there, it gives you the option, if I have a question posted there, to participate in the poll or the survey or something.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do these also sometimes on Instagram. So participation is always welcome. And I mean, I love it when people get involved and talk about things, everything, and put their 2 cents in. You can reach me at retrolifeforyou@gmail.com if you have any suggestions of a show you'd like to see, any questions or comments, corrections, or maybe I messed something up and you want to say, hey man, you messed up. This is what it is. And I'm
Right,
cool.
right.
I'm cool with that. I'm cool with
Yeah.
that. But I mean, these are the things that we want. And if you will, take that time after you listen to the show. If you are on iTunes, give me a 5-star review and a small one-line review. It can be excellent. I loved it, hated it, or whatever. It's good. Just leave something on there. Spotify, you can give me a 1 through 5-star review, preferably 5, and get me out there. And it does help a lot. Tim can tell you any kind of thing that Google sees where your show is being communicated with or rated in any way, talked about and stuff, it does help out in the algorithms and bring you up in the rankings of the show. So I don't know how many retro related type shows there are out there. Me and Tim are both in the same genre, basically. I don't know where we stand against each other, much less anybody else.
I'm not in
But
the competition with anybody. I'm supporting them
yeah,
all.
I mean, we're not. We had yeah, exactly. We're not in any real competition. If we were, we wouldn't be supporting each other's podcasts. I wouldn't mention Buzz in the Tower like I do a million trillion times on this show. The guys there, Max and Mo and Max, you know they know I love their show. As a matter of fact, I was going to do a Christmas episode on a Christmas story, and I'll be darned if they didn't beat me to doing a Christmas story and a Christmas story Christmas. And I thought,
Right,
man,
right.
you guys, I'm not doing mine now because it looked like I copied theirs. Anyway, you guys get a chance, definitely check us out, follow us, rate us, review us, and we would appreciate you so much. Tim, you got
Yes,
anything else you
yes.
want to drop out there for the show's over with?
No, man, just thanks for letting me be a part. It's always a good time to sit down and chat with you about a good fun 80s themed movie or actor or whatever you want to talk about. So thanks for having me.
Shoot, if you weren't busy, oh man, if you weren't so busy, you'd be on here every during the week with me. What are you talking about? You're
Yeah,
consistent. You're awesome.
I try. I
But
try my
definitely,
best.
definitely thank you for coming back on with us this week too and
Yes,
everything. So I
sir.
appreciate it. Everybody, it was great being back. First show of 2023. I can't wait to get the rest of them going. Hopefully, the people I mentioned, I'm going to get on here for you and get them on quickly so we can enjoy that as well. We got so many more movies coming up this year. We're going to jump on that are big 80s movies that we haven't talked about yet because we were trying not to be exactly like the same old show you're used to. But we're going to give you some exciting new takes on them. So thanks for listening today. Tim, again, thanks for being with us, and we'll see you guys next week.